Okay, so this was round 8. Yeah. You had your opponents mixed up. It's all good, Joe. And this was one of my best wins at the Olympiads. The guy I'm playing against is an IM 2350, around my age, I think. Maybe a couple of years younger, but definitely a strong player, yeah. And going into this 8th round, I was under pressure because after 7 rounds, I had barely, managed any points, just one win and a draw. Playing board 1 is so difficult. But anyways, I checked out his repertoire and I knew he was going to play the Italian, so I was prepared for it. The Italian is something that I like playing. Okay, bishop c4, knight f6, d3, bishop c5, all very standard Italian maneuvers, and c6. Oh, sorry, c3. Prepares to reroute the bishop over to c2. So I guess it's alright to castle for black over here, but I always, make it a point to play d6. Support the center before committing to castling. It also unlocks the bishop. Okay, and bishop b3, yeah? And a5. Now this is a move that I looked up actually. Otherwise, I don't play this, in online games. I would probably just castle. But I had checked up some theory. So a5, grabbing some space on the queen side. I guess in speed chess you would probably be worried about something like bishop a4, but it's not such a big deal. I guess black is comfortable over here just castling probably, yeah? And you can say that white has lost a tempo by moving the bishop over here, and if he decides to capture, you end up with the bishop there. It's not too bad. Plus there is a huge lead in development as well. So anyways, he didn't play that. He played knight d2 and now I castled. And now if you go for bishop a4, then knight e7 I guess is probably just fine, because the knight wants to come over to g6.
Play the music the moment is calling for, whether it's turning up the party or winding down to relax in the evening. Curate the day's sound.
Okay, anyways, he castled and bishop e6. So at this point I'm out of theory. I just went with this move based on instinct, and something that I play often in the Italian. The idea is simple. If you trade the bishop, then it does double up the pawns, but it opens up the file for black. So there's bound to be counterplay because of that. Plus the pawns are doubled up towards the center, so they can always be exchanged. So he didn't trade. Obviously, he played queen e2, and I exchanged the bishop. He captured with the pawn, which does open up the file for him, but there's not much that can be done. Obviously, if you take with the knight, then yes, black is comfortable playing something like bishop b6, and this bishop is strong. I guess this is something that he could have done, yeah, and then challenged my bishop with bishop e3, but it's very drawish here. So by taking with the pawn, he intends on gaining initiative, and probably in his mind he's thinking that I gotta beat this guy, he's lower rated than me, so he's looking for activity. Okay, queen d7, which activates the queen and connects the rooks. I liked this move because Usually it's a good idea if you've traded off one of the bishops to use the queen as a proxy to cover, you know, that bishop's squares. I've traded the light squared bishop away, and the queen takes over the light squares. Also the rooks are connected. Knight c4, very logical move. He probably wants to read out the knight over to e3 and later come on to these outpost squares. Bishop e3 is also playable. I played h6, not allowing you know, something like bishop g5. Okay, bishop e3, bishop captures, trade of the bishops, and he takes with the pawn, opens up the f file. I centralize my queen with queen e6. I think I had ideas of playing something like d5, yeah. Okay, so knight h4 and b6. I've got a smiley face, you know, pawn structure on the queen side. Okay, so rook f3, obviously he wants to double up and, you know, probably has some ideas of maybe sacrificing the exchange on f6. So I played knight e7 because the knight wasn't doing much. You know, in case of knight f5, I can also go for a trade, I guess. And he played rook f1. I thought a long time on this move also. And why is this a blunder? I gotta why isn't it allowing me to open the engine? Yeah, pawn captures was wrong. I think the move that white needed to go for was the exchange sack, and I actually saw this. Yeah, this I think is the winning move. Sacking the exchange, because after pawn captures there is this, and can't really take with the knight because the knight f5. Yeah, huge problem. So I have to take with the queen, and then white has e4. And the idea is a position based idea. Yeah, my king side pawn structure is damaged, and you know, white is down the exchange, but these knights are you know, really good over here. Thankfully he didn't find the move. Yeah, no idea how to shut down this engine now as well. Sheesh. Okay, I'll just leave the analysis. Yeah, I'll just leave the analysis on. Anyways, he took the pawn and he didn't go for the exchange sacrifice, and I was glad to move my knight away from this pressure on the f file. Now again it's equal. So queen there, and f6. King h1 and even g5. So he had to counterattack with this move. I guess you can also play this, but then it's becoming uncomfortable, yeah? Probably wrong, because then I can take and rook captures, and I don't know, something like this is possible. Knight f4, picking up the exchange, because the rook is trapped there. So he has to counterattack, otherwise the knight doesn't have any squares. But then, you know, I get my knight on f4. So this is where I actually was starting to feel very good, because that's you know, a really strong knight right there. Yeah, so he played g3 because, again, you know, it's, I guess you can play knight f5 here. But then I guess I can just capture, pawn captures, and probably not take here, yeah, because otherwise then there's gonna be this e3 stuff. But the point is that, you know, White's own pawn is gonna block his entire, you know, this Alekhine gun of heavy pieces that he has. So g3 and knight h3. Comes with a tempo on the queen, and it's also supported by my queen, so it's a very annoying move. Okay, so he played queen g2, and it looks as if, you know, I'm picking up a piece, but not really, because if I take away his knight, then he captures with the pawn and there's a discovered check. It also, you know, unleashes the rook onto the knight as well, so this much I saw, yeah. So I went with the g4, which cements the knight over here, and it's a strong knight, yeah, right where his king is castled. Very problematic piece. Okay, so rook e3 and b5. Just you know, getting rid of his knight. d2 and a4. The engine doesn't like it, but practically I think it's a good choice. I'm just opening up the file for my rook. Okay, so knight f5, I was happy to trade. I captured with the pawn. Queen b6. Comes with the tempo because the rook is hanging. Okay, so rook e4 and obviously h5. I gotta guard this pawn, yeah? Can't allow it to fall off with check. Okay, so captures, and I captured with the rook here. I guess you can take with the pawn as well, but then there's knight c4. Gregory, take care. It must be late in Milan, yeah? Probably like midnight. So yeah, my rook is locked behind the pawn, yeah? I didn't like that. So I was happy to take with the rook. And he traded, which was fine for me because, you know, this rook is the more active of the two. Captures and you know, threatening to take on b2, so queen d5 check and king g7 and knight there. Queen b3, bring the queen away, and he played queen c6 here. So I guess you can block over here with the rook f7 and not allow this pawn to fall off, but I didn't actually see a problem with you know, him taking the pawn. So I went with queen c2 counter attack, because after captures rook f7 will counter attack the queen. Yeah, and he was also, you know, getting low on the clock here. So captures rook f7, blocks, queen there, I get my pawn back with a threat on the rook. Knight e3 for the defense, queen there, getting the queen on the 7th. Ideas of knight f2 will be there. There's this tremendous pressure on the rook, which is only supported by the knight, and you know, it's completely winning at this point. Okay, so queen d6 and rook d7, threatening rook d2, and I saw that he could play queen e6, and now if I play rook d2 immediately, there is, I believe, a perpetual, yeah, with the queen e7. But I saw this move, and I had calculated rook b7. And the problem for white is now that the queen is no longer attacking the rook, and this knight is also undefended. So queen d5, but now I can take on b2, and it's all over, Mr. Grover. Queen g2 he played, but it's pretty easy calculation over there. I just take out the queen, knight captures, and just a3. And this is where he resigned the game, because there is not much left to do over here. The threat is simply a2 and rook b1, and white can't do anything. The knight is just too slow here. So this was my, you know, first win that gave me, you know, like a lot of confidence in the Olympiads. I had one game before this against a player from New Papua Guinea, but this guy was 2300 plus, so you know, I felt really good after getting this in the bag. Okay, so this was round 8, huh? Let me see if I can get my round 9 game. So round 8 was against Morocco. Round 9 was with Togo. Playing at board 1. And again I had the black pieces. You know, the funny thing is, I didn't win a single game with the white pieces in the entire Olympiads. All of my wins, all 4 wins, were with the black pieces. So that was, you know, kind of a surprising fact there. I got in a couple of draws with the white pieces, but no wins. Okay, so this is Togo. Their highest rated player was playing on board 1, 1932. So let's see what happened in this game. can't I turn off this? Ah, there it is. Finally managed to turn off the engine analysis. Okay, so another e4. This time Marie Lopez with bishop e5, so you know I like playing the Berlin defense, so that's what I did. Knight f6, and he castled, so knight takes an e4. One way of playing the Berlin is to go for the anti-Berlin setup. Some white players like that, and it's also a good strategy to play against Berlin players because you know the structure that comes out of this is somewhat similar to what you get in the regular Re Lopez lines, the Morphy defense with the a6. But anyways, he castled, so I played knight captures an e4. Now rook e1, very solid choice for white. The other option is to go down this queen swap variation with d4. Knight d6, bishop captures, pawn captures, captures this. The queens are traded off, and life goes on. Okay, so knight d6. Because d5 is just pointless. You just hang the pawn over here because the knight is pinned. And white gets their pawn back. Bishop e7. Also playable is just to take the knight. Rook captures and then go for bishop e7. But bishop e7 first. And he played this aggressive bishop d3 move. Okay, so I take his knight because it misplaces the rook somewhat, comes over to e5 and castles. The bishop is quite aggressive, but there isn't anything immediate with bishop h7. The sacrifice doesn't work out because after this black can simply take, and the problem is the rook and the queen are hitting on the same square on h5, so there isn't much that can be done here. Like in this position, if the rook were on e3, then this might probably be working. Check and king over here, and then the rook can come over to h3. But here it doesn't work. So castles, knight c3, trying to get in something like knight d5. So stop that with c6. b3 prepares to cater the bishop. In some cases, the bishop can also come over to a3. Okay, so knight e8. This is theory. I guess you can play bishop f6, but then I don't know. Maybe something like this. And I guess you're probably just going for some trades over here with rook e8. I know I have blundered something like knight e8 in the past, because then this becomes a problem. Maybe not that big a problem because there's still this. Okay, so knight e8, queen f3, and d5. Happy to take away these squares from his pieces. It also unlocks my light squared bishop. Bishop there and knight f6. The Indian doesn't like this much. Probably I should have played this, yeah. bishop f6, maybe. Okay, so knight f6, h3, bishop d6, gaining a tempo finally on the rook, goes back, bishop c7 with some ideas of playing queen d6, you know, just trying to provoke more weaknesses. So knight e2 defends nicely, yeah, because now if I play queen d6, you know, maybe white can just even take over here. Like bishop captures, check there. I don't get much over here because the knight comes in for the block. Okay, so there, and I played knight f4. And the idea is simple, that, you know, if bishop captures, pawn captures, and queen captures, I'm getting my pawn back. So he did take the knight because the knight is quite strong there. Pawn captures, but he didn't take the pawn, yeah? He played queen c3, which I thought was a mistake. Probably he should have taken the pawn, and it was probably going to be an equal game. But I guess he didn't like me taking his d pawn, yeah? Okay, so queen c3 does threaten mate, but now I get to activate my queen to a very nice square on g5. X-raying the king, also protecting against the checkmate. Ideas of bishop h3 will be there later on in the game. Okay, knight g3 and f5. I was very happy to support my e-pawn with this move. And, you know, there's this pressure on the knight, and I've still got the bishop here, so I was happy with this position. Check and rook f7. So I calculated this like if I go with king h8 here, there are some problems, yeah. What are those problems? Probably something like bishop a3, and it's getting uncomfortable for me, yeah. The rook is attacked and I have to play something like this, but then this is also playable. For white, attacking the bishop and also threatening something like this. So that's why I blocked with the rook. Temporarily pinning my rook, but he can't take much advantage out of this. Now I've got some threats, yeah. Bishop captures, queen captures, all is possible. And he played d3, which, you know, just drops off a pawn. I think I'm not sure what the engine wants over here. Like, it didn't like this move. What did it want? It wanted me to play h5. Yeah, so h5, if pawn captures, then f4. Yeah, and you know, I'm getting a strong attack against the king. But anyways, pawn is pawn, yeah. So I was happy to go into this trade, giving up the bishop here and getting myself a pawn. So he takes over here and f4. I guess maybe I can take over here still. Now bishop h3 is still a problem, but f4 just seems very nice because now I'm threatening bishop h3. I'm also threatening f3, and there's tremendous pressure on his king. Yeah. Okay, so rook f1 allows me to grab the pawn with bishop h3, and I knew I was winning, even though these are opposite colored bishops. But yeah, there's a lot of pressure. The attack is very strong against the king. Threatening mate, so he defends. Okay, queen g6 is what I played. Because f3 doesn't work out, yeah? White can simply take. Captures, and there's nothing there. So queen g6. And king h1 is another mistake. I'm not sure, maybe he should have played this, but I guess the problems still continue. Then bishop g4 there, and maybe f3 now. So after king h1, what would you guys go for over here? Black to move and try to convert, enhance their advantage. Any ideas? Bishop g4 by Mr. Chris. Well, the idea involves bishop g4. But if you play bishop g4 right away, then I don't know, maybe white can just play queen f2 or something. But the move that I played was f3, which is nice because now if white captures back with a rook, then there is bishop g4 with a pin, yeah, and you are winning the exchange. On the other hand, you can't really take this way as well because then you're dropping the exchange this way. But f3 is nice because it just forces the exchange off, because this is just a threat, huge threat now, so white can't do anything about this. So he sacrificed the exchange. I was happy to get it. Pawns are equal, but I'm just up clean exchange, and I mean, it's just completely winning, yeah. This king is wide open. Bishop is strong, but I mean, with the rooks getting activated, it's not going to be a match. Also, you know, I've traded off my bishop, so there's no point of you know, opposite colored bishop endgame situation. Less chances of a draw and just completely winning. Okay, rook f8. Queen there. I guess I can trade over here, and it's probably winning, but why trade when, you know, the king is so exposed? So check. King g2. I can't really take on f3 right away, otherwise I will get mated. So g6. which does open up this diagonal, but the queen is far away, and if he moves the queen away going for some attack, this is just going to be crushing. Okay, so queen e2. I imagine I can probably just take over here, but then I saw that he has this check, and I probably run into some problems. Like I guess I would have to block with a rook. I wanted to avoid that, yeah. So I played b5, taking away the square, and now this is the threat. So he defends with the king, check there, and rook f4, threatening mate. Okay, so defends with the queen, and queen h5 check, and finally I take out the pawn on f3, where he designed the game, because there isn't anything else. My rooks are crashing through. If you trade, then obviously I'm also just winning. Bishop is useless over here on this beautiful looking diagonal, so it was a pretty clean win in round 9. I think we won our match against Togo like 3-1 or something. Not sure. Can't recall right now. Okay, next up is El Salvador. Round 10. This was a very interesting game. I was playing with another IM, yeah, almost 2300. I think we lost the match 2.5 to 1.5. I got in a lucky draw in this game. I had a chance of getting some initiative early on, but unfortunately I couldn't spot the combination. You guys will soon see. I had checked up on my opponent, and I knew he was going to play the Benoni. Yeah? So d4, knight f6, c4, and c5. d5, and he goes into the Benoni system with the e6. I like playing against the Benoni with the white piece. Knight c3, developing, reinforcing the center. Captures, d6, d4, and g6. Okay, so f4 is the move suggested by the engine as well, increasing the hold in the center. Bishop g7. Okay, so bishop b5 check, and he blocked with the knight. Yeah, I don't know, maybe this is playable for black, but there might be some shenanigans with e5. I can't recall right now, but I think this was still part of the theory that I had prepared against this guy, and I expected knight d7. So after knight d7, a4. Okay, you got to play a4, because if you continue developing over here, white gets in a6 with tempo, yeah, and then you would probably have to trade the bishop, because if you retreat back, then b5, and black gets a lot of space. So that's why a4 first, because now if a6, I don't have to I can play something like bishop d3, and there's no b5. So a4 castles, knight f3, knight a6. It's a common theme. to play a move like this in the Benoni, where the knight can swing over to c7, in some cases come over to b4. It's really not a problem for black if white takes the knight, because then the light short bishop is gone and black has the bishop there, so there is going to be compensation. So I castled. He was happy to get his knight to b4. Rook e1, a6, attacking the bishop. Bishop f1, preserving the bishop. Probably a more active square would be bishop c4, but then it allows this move to happen with tempo. I didn't like that. So bishop f1, passive but solid. Okay, b6, and now bishop c4. So he's a put a pawn on b6, yeah. So he can't play knight b6 now. Okay, rook e8, bishop d2, bishop b7, and rook c1. There's just some slow maneuvering going on. Both of us are, hoping that someone blunders here, makes a compromise. Okay, knight f6. What did I play here? I played h3, taking away knight g4. Queen d7, rook e2. I don't know, something like queen f1 is possible. I can swing this rook around to 1 as well in some cases. So he plays rook e7, bishop e1. I just like this idea of rerouting the bishop, somewhere over here. Okay, so knight h5, attacking the f pawn. I defended with this, queen d2. Yeah, bishop h6 and knight g5. So here is where he blundered, yeah, with the knight f4. And he played this move quickly as well. Like, you can tell the time difference. It spends 10 minutes on these on all of these moves, and I'm down to like under an hour. But this is a blunder, knight f4. The idea obviously is that it's not a free piece after queen captures an f4. His idea was to play f6, and my mistake was believing that after queen takes f6 and rook f8. So I didn't get that. This queen takes f6. f6 is here. But his idea is this, yeah. After f6. Yeah. Okay. You're talking about this, yeah. So after queen takes f6, his idea was to play rook f8. But there's a flaw in this, yeah, and I'll tell you what. I thought on this move long and hard, yeah. I wanted to take the f6 pawn, but I couldn't. I didn't calculate the line fully, so I played this move, h4. But the correct move is to play queen f6. Can you actually spot why? What is the idea behind this? It seems as if after rook f8 the queen is getting trapped, but that's not the case. There are some tactical ideas after rook f8. I actually found the tactic as well, but I didn't calculate it fully. Yeah, I didn't see the way out as well, but there is a way out. So after rook f8, knight white has a very nice resource. It's knight h7, which is pretty, yeah? Because now if rook captures, knight captures back with check, and we get the queen. So that doesn't work out. If you take the knight out with the rook, there is queen takes g6. I saw all of this, but then I saw this move, yeah, king h7, and I thought, you know, this is working because now my queen is, you know, getting trapped, and you know, I'm gonna end up losing the rook over here. But I did not calculate this one move, which is queen h4, and now I'm staying up a pawn, yeah, because I pin the bishop, I get my queen out of danger, and you know, he can't take the rook. And then this is like how much of an advantage is over here? Yeah, almost a pawn and a half, yeah. The problem is there's something like rook f4 to calculate as well, but then, you know, there's g4. Hard to see, but all of this was possible. Unfortunately, I missed it. So h4 I played, and he gets his material back. I take back with the pawn, rook f8, queen h4. Material is equal, but I have some positional problems because I have doubled up my pawns. Okay, so he saves his bishop by playing this. Bishop g3. And bishop e5, which apparently is a blunder. Why is this a blunder? I think I can take here, yeah, but then I was worried about this rook captures, and then, you know, queen e7 coming over and attacking this pawn. But there's some interesting ideas over here which I forgot. What are they? Yeah, rook f2. So rook f2 captures, and then queen captures back with the idea of sacrificing this pawn. Yeah, and then there is this rook f1. And you got to calculate it. Look at this. I have an advantage of 2 pawns after being down a pawn. Threatening mate. So black has to defend like this, but then comes queen f6. If you take, then there is rook f6. And there's no defense to this pawn. Once this pawn falls off, these guys become a huge problem. But this was also hard to see because you have to stay down a pawn, yeah? Rook e5 is the best defense. But now I guess bishop e2. Bishop wants to come over here, so I guess this will be played. Captures, captures, and finally rook f6. And black will eventually lose this pawn. There. Takes. White is winning here. So this was another opportunity missed by me, but this was kind of a tough line to calculate. Us human beings, we like our pawns, sometimes too much. which is why I played rook e1 and I did not take the bishop, because I wanted to put the rook on f1 and get this guy on f6, yeah, and cut off his queen from coming over here and attacking this pawn. And this guy was moving fast, so yeah, I was always going to stay down on time. Okay, bishop c8, captures, rook f1, captures. Now I can play this. Which is again a mistake, because again, you know, what the engine wants is, I believe, to play queen f4 and just sack the pawn again, with the idea of trying to get towards the d6 pawn. So this whole maneuver is still there. I can play this. Let's say if rook captures again, you know, same idea. Instead I played this, and also this doesn't work, yeah. Captures this. So I played passively, defending my pawn, doubled up, and I almost paid you know, a hefty price for this. Okay, there's a lot of slow maneuvering gonna happen over here, so I'm gonna quickly go through these moves, yeah. Knight e2, sacrificing the b pawn, with the idea of getting the knight to f4, maybe some of this action. So he didn't take the pawn. Played this, then I defended with this. I don't know, there were a lot of mistakes that were made here by both of us, but I'm definitely worse over here. Knight f4, captures, rook captures. There's a problem with queen captures, yeah? I don't know, something like this. If I take, there is this. I cannot maintain the defense of the rook. So I captured back with the rook, because I was finally able to see, you know, this idea of getting towards the d pawn, which doesn't actually work, because he takes with the rook and I can't play rook f6. So yeah, I just went down the pawn here. Bishop g4, queen there. I was completely losing over here. Somehow I managed to survive this. Just defending, you know, over here completely. My only hope was that, you know, his rook is kind of stuck over here on g5. Yeah, so bishop g4. It's probably loses for me, yeah, if I trade. I guess he would capture back with the pawn. And you know, this queen b2 looming over here, so avoided the trade with the bishop there. Okay, bishop e2 and queen f2 I have to play, yeah? Because there's a threat. On captures, and now I'm down 2 pawns. Okay, rook g4 was nice. Yeah, I was lucky to have this resource. Look at this move. The idea is to get in a perpetual. Like, let's say if he captures with the pawn, there's this check. I mean, you can't come up, otherwise you're going to get mated, so there's going to be a perpetual here. And it also works, I guess, if you take with the rook. Check, and you know, the king can't avoid getting out of the checks. Okay, so rook g4, and he found, I think, a very good move. Look at this, king g7. I mean, the engine still thinks it's a mistake. But look at these ideas. You know, first I you know, give up an entire rook, and now he gives me the rook itself. But the problem is my rook is getting stuck after rook g5, and you know, this guy is not getting out of. And this is a huge problem. You know, this b3 coming in, I guess. This is losing, yeah. If I put on the engine, yeah, look at that. First he will take over here with check, obviously, and then go over here. I guess if you rush with this, okay, then I'm winning because I have this. Yeah. Okay, so I saw the problems with taking the rook, so I played this. Rook f4, and queen c3 was a blunder. It's difficult to calculate. What is the correct move? Queen d4. Wow, okay. Queen d4 is the way for black to win this. I guess the idea is that after this check, probably this move is playable. And I cannot penetrate with the queen. This queen is centrally posted, covering everything. Okay, but he played this, and I got in the check. King h6, rook d7, threatening this, which is actually going to be made. So, queen h8, rook b7. I don't know, probably you can still take the pawn over here, but I was worried about these guys, yeah. So after queen h8 I played this. Then he can't immediately go with the b3 or nor push this pawn because I get this guy. We were both getting low on the clock as well. Okay, so h4, and this led to a quick draw because after this it's just a draw, yeah. Because the rook is pinned, captures with the pawn, and then the checks start. So yeah, we agreed to a draw at this point. Just very lucky to you know, escape with a draw in this game, because I missed my chances earlier in the game. The end game was, I was just losing throughout, but got lucky towards the end. Okay, so round 11 was another very nice win for me. We're playing Uganda, and I'm playing with another IM. Yeah, this was a sweet win. Okay, so this guy is 2365, yeah? IM, and he was playing board 1. Their board 2 was like under 2200, I think. Maybe under 2100, I forgot. But they had just the one IM. Of course, you know, I had to play with him because I was playing on board 1. Okay, so e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, knight c3, knight f6, the infamous 4 knights game. I knew he was going to play this because I had checked up his online games. Bishop e5 and knight e4. Attacking the bishop, leaving the pawn on e5 hanging. I guess if you play this, then simply take over here. Guess you're getting your pawn back with this. Or am I wrong about this variation? What happens if knight e5? After knight e5, you play queen e7 right away, and you don't take the bishop, of course. This is wrong, yeah? If you take the bishop, this is wrong. Because now queen e7 doesn't actually work. Knight f3 and yeah, and white gets the castle here. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I remembered this when I was playing the game. I just forgot about it now. Have you played anybody who you feel or told you they prepped for you? No, but you can get a sense, yeah, from your opponent that they have prepped against you. Like this guy that I played from the South African team who was playing board 1. I'm pretty sure he prepped up against me because he played the Nimzo Indian against me, and he outplayed me in the opening. Against the Nimzo, I played the f3, which is one of my favorite openings. So he started that line pretty well, I think. But somebody prepares, you know, looks up your games online and stuff, they won't talk about it, you know. They'll just keep it a secret. Okay, so what happened over here? Yeah, after knight d4, he castled, which was fine by me because knight takes the bishop, knight captures back, c6. Pretty much out of opening theory, but the moves are easy over here. Yeah? I played queen d6 with the idea of putting the queen on c7, and you know, I hold on to the e5 pawn, bishop e7 will be played, and castling will happen. No real problems over here. I also have the bishop there for now. So d4, queen c7. Couldn't they say after the game they prepped, the game is over at that point, no need for secrets? You got to understand, these are, you know, some of these guys are hardcore professional chess players, so they probably would like to still keep it a secret, yeah, like for any future games that you might get paired up against them. Yeah, his name starts with art as well. I don't know how to pronounce his second name. It's Sigwani with 2 S's. How do you pronounce 2 S's? Like you say, Sigwani. Okay, Queen C7, A4, Bishop G4. I saw he could play A5, and I could play A5 over here myself, but I didn't actually see a problem with allowing him A5, so I was happy to develop my bishop and pin his knight. Yeah, Bishop E3, Bishop E7, H3. Obviously, I'm not trading my bishop. Queen E2 and Knight D7, keeping my king in the middle. Why did I play Knight D7? I guess I didn't like the fact that after castling you can play Bishop G5. Then I can't play this move freely. Yeah? Also, there is no immediate danger against my king, so yeah, Knight D7 first, A5, castles, Rook D1, and I took on D4. Okay, so bishop captures back because the knight is pinned, and rook e8. Now the reason why I took this was I didn't like this pressure, you know, that is probably going to get built up with something like rook d2 and, you know, the doubling of the rooks. So by taking the pawn, I keep my d pawn defended with the bishop. And it's very hard for white to make, you know, like crash through over here with the rooks, unless you fire upon this pawn with a minor piece, which is not that easy. You would have to reroute the bishop over here. By that time, I would probably find something to do. And you know, the problem with putting the bishop on e3 is there's also knight e5. Okay, so rook e8. Queen d3, logical move, getting out of the pin. Queen d8, kind of an anti-intuitional move, underdeveloping the queen. Yeah. But there are some ideas of putting the bishop on f8 and, you know, covering the g5 square with the queen over here. Okay, so knight e2 and knight f4 is coming. Yeah, I knew I could not hold on to the bishop here at this point. So bishop f8, knight f4. I had you know, committed on taking the knight on f3. Queen captures, queen g5, activates my queen, or rather reactivates my queen again, and it connects the rooks. The queen has life over here, yeah, like eyeing the g5 square. So, you know, there's pressure on g2, reinforces g7, so it's just a nice spot for the queen. Okay, so again, some slow maneuvering, knight d3, queen g5, queen d5. There's no obvious threat over here, but it's just a solid square for the queen to be in, yeah. Like later on, she can come to c4, harass the bishop and stuff, so I was happy with this. Okay, bishop c3, queen c4, rook e1, and b5. Yeah, I mean, if I play too passively over here, then it's not gonna work out. Yeah, so b5 I like because it's an active move. There's only so much maneuvering that I can do. His bishop is quite strong over here, so I can't, you know, just keep on playing passively. So b5, he captured in passant, and he captured back. Pawn opens up the a file. A queen g4, some pressure on the g7 pawn, but it's defended. Okay, so queen e6 is what I played, because now if you trade, I capture back with the pawn, and it increases my control of the center. But he played this f3, saying that I'm not gonna be the one who captures your queen, you can capture my queen. Obviously, if you take the queen, then I concrete over here these pawns, yeah. So after this, b5. Now I remember when I played b5, I glanced at his expression. He was shaking his head, and he was shaking his head in a way that this is not a good move, because now knight b4. So he was happy that I had played this move. But I think I calculated this whole line well. So after knight b4, I played c5, allowing his knight to come in. Yeah, with knight d5. Because now I can play b4 even. And there's no real fork actually. Because let's say knight c7, then I can trade, yeah. Captures back, trade over here even. Who captures, and suddenly two pieces are hanging for white. So I think he missed this, this calculation. Okay, b4 attacks the bishop, and it moves it away from this strong diagonal. So bishop d2, and now knight f6. Yeah, this is what I calculated. Yeah, knight f6. Because let's say again, if queen captures, then simply pawn captures. Again, there is no fork over here. Yes, I can take and play something like this. So knight f6. What did he play? Yeah, he traded queens. I captured back with a pawn, and he played knight b6. Did not go with knight c7. So I avoided the exchange of the rooks. Rook b8. Defends with rook a6. Rook d7. Bishop there. Knight e8, and here is where he lost the game. I think he just made a very basic blunder. Like there's a threat of this move, knight c7, but he ignored that, and he played b2. And now there are problems, because knight c7, and the rook is attacked. I was surprised he blundered this. I knew I was winning over here, because now this is forced. Otherwise, you're dropping off the knight. And at the very least, I have a draw. After knight b5, he has to go back with this. I can force a draw over here, but obviously not gonna settle for the draw. So if you're gonna play for the win here as black, what would you go for? Should be easy, no? Black to play for initiative. What's the move? Okay, it was knight d4. I didn't even bother repeating once. I played this pretty quickly, yeah, a matter of 20 seconds. because I'm about to win some material here. Attacking the pawn on c2, and you cannot defend with rook there, otherwise fork wins. Okay, so bishop g5, and I also played this move quickly as well, like knight captures on c2. The Indian actually, I think, wants to play rook e8 here, defend the rook first. This is apparently slightly better, but knight c2 seems to work. I couldn't find the move, but I'm glad you did. That was knight d4. Okay, so again the problem is that if white plays rook c1, then simply knight d4. Bishop captures, there's again fork. Actually, this is even stronger because now this pawn is about to fall off for white. So after knight c2, he simply took out my rook. I had to take out his rook, defends his bishop. Okay, so knight there, knight d7, rook b7, captures, captures. And bishop g3. If you take this pawn right away, then d5, I believe, is winning. There's no defense to this pawn. Once the b pawn falls off, it's going to be a party. But bishop g3 is surprisingly resourceful, yeah? Yeah, I played c4 here. Yes, if I do this, then he gets two pawns after bishop check there, and then I don't know, maybe this is still winning after knight captures b3. But I liked c4 with the simple idea that if you take, there's no stopping Mr. Barry Allen over here. The flush. The pawn is a flush. Okay, so bishop captures check, king goes up, and rook a2. So here is where he showed his, that this guy is an IM. He defended very, very well. The rook attacks the knight, and even though I get to take out the b3 pawn, it doubles up my pawns, yeah? And apparently this was a mistake as well. Not sure what the Indian wants over here. Forgot. But there is... yeah, I thought about this move, yeah? The idea is that it goes into a winning rook endgame. I was worried about this bishop b4 idea. I guess this is just completely winning. But I did not play it. I took the extra pawn, like the greedy guy that I am, and with accurate play, now white can actually draw. It's hard, but very hard for black also to make progress after rook b2 because there's a blockade. Rook b7, b5, because if you move the bishop away, then the rook is going to be a huge problem. So this right there, activation of the king, played g4. Probably should have played this right away. Okay, rook b5 there, and rook a5, where he blundered with the bishop b4. Okay, now I get this in. Bishop c3 is forced. b5, forcing rook captures, pawn captures, you know. The bishop has to keep an eye over here forever and ever. Knight h3 was nice. King e2 and knight c4. It might look that, you know, knight c2 is winning over here, but doesn't actually win. After king d2, if you queen, bishop captures, knight captures, and the knight is trapped, and I'm still down a pawn, so I'm probably losing over here. So that is why I played this. Attacking the bishop, bishop goes there. b6, right there, I mean king there, and knight b6. No, I knew I was winning. I knew I was winning because this is a critical problem. Yeah, the pawn on a2 is, it can only be attacked by the king. I knew it was all about making the king deviate over here, and then, you know, I will get a counter over here. So you can sense these sort of things sometimes. Yeah, so it was all about being patient. And he realized that, you know, that's why he played king c3, because he knew that, you know, he can't unlock his bishop as long as this king stays over there. So that's why he tried this move, king c3. But now I get the check in. He gets to take out my pawn, but then I destroy his you know, king side over here. And my pawns are in light squares, so there's never a problem. He captures and I'm just completely winning. Yeah, he resigned over here on king g3. There's absolutely no progress. For example, you can't even play this, yeah? Bishop e7, there's a fork. So the bishop is completely, utterly out of the game. And this is happening. Okay, so that was my final game at the Olympiads. A win against an IM 2300 plus. I was very relieved and very happy to have finished the event, you know, with some respectable score. The first 6 or 7 rounds were very tough. Okay, with that, I am gonna wrap up the stream also. I hope I didn't bore you guys too much. But that finishes off my analysis of the Olympiad game, so I can just upload this on YouTube. Thank you, Mr. Baller fan. Alright guys, I'm gonna call it a day. Thank you for being in the stream. I hope it was enjoyable, instructive. I shall see you guys on Friday. Straight Bumbo Baby. Take care, Mr. Raycliffe. See you when I see you.
Right now, Mr. Kazi,